Hi there, it's Amy from Cakes with Faces, and today is all about day trips from Kyoto and Osaka. Now, day trips are a great way to see a bit more of Japan beyond the place you're staying in. With just an hour or two on the train, you can be somewhere completely different. There's so many interesting places around the Kansai region that sometimes get a bit overshadowed by famous Kyoto and Osaka. So today I'm going to show you some of them. If you have my book, all the details are on page 164, along with lots of ideas for things to do all around Japan, how to get around, and help with planning your trip. You can get it from cakeswithfaces.co.uk with worldwide shipping. The link's in the description. There's new Japan videos on my channel every other Thursday if you want to subscribe. So on to the day trips, and all of these places are within an hour or two of Kyoto and Osaka by train. Sometimes I see recommendations for day trips that take like 3 or 4 hours to get to, and for me that's just too much. It wouldn't be enjoyable, it would be way too tiring. So I try not to recommend places that are too difficult to get to, and all of these are easily accessible on the train with public transport. I've included both places I've been to and places I haven't been to yet that are still on my wish list, just because I wanted this video to be useful and include the whole range of places you might want to go to so you can see what you like the look of and not limit it just to places where I've been. So the first day trip idea, just to get this one out of the way, is Osaka or Kyoto. They're both really close together, so whichever one you're staying in, you can easily visit the other one. It's only 15 minutes or half an hour, depending which train you get. There's loads to do in both cities, and there's videos about both of them on my channel. And for the rest of the places I'm going to mention, some of them are a bit closer to Kyoto, some of them are a bit closer to Osaka, but whichever one you're staying in, they're all doable as day trips. On to the next place. Kumarama and Kibune are two villages in the mountains surrounded by nature just north of Kyoto. People used to go on pilgrimages here because there's loads of temples and shrines like this one, Kibune Shrine in Kibune, with all these lanterns going up the stairs. It really is a break from the city. You're surrounded by greenery, trees and streams, very relaxing. You can hike between Kumarama and Kibune through the mountains. It's a 5-kilometre hike. In the summer, between June and September, the restaurants that are by the river build wooden decks so you can sit out over the water when you're having your meal. It sounds just lovely. It's supposed to help you cool down in the summer. They also serve nagashi somen, which is where they put out a bamboo shoot like a type of gutter with water flowing along it. The chef puts portions of somen noodles in the water to flow along to you so you can pick them out with your chopsticks. It looks really fun. That is a summer speciality, so it's only on during the summer. If you want to go there, there is a discount pass you can get on the train called the Kyoto Osaka Sightseeing Pass for 1,700 yen, which will save you a bit of money on the train. Next is Kobe, which is so close to Osaka. It's only half an hour on the train. It's not just about expensive Kobe beef, there's lots more to do there. It's surrounded by mountains, so there's various ropeways you can go up for a view of the city. There's lively areas at the waterfront with lots of shopping, a Ferris wheel, Kobe Tower, Chinatown, and an earthquake museum. Kobe was one of the first port towns to open to foreign trade in the 19th century, and in one area, Kitano-cho, you can really see the Western influence from people who came to visit and live there. There's lots of houses that are built in a European style. If you arrive in Kobe by Shinkansen, you can walk to a waterfall which is only 15 minutes away from the bullet train station. It's called Nunobiki Waterfall, and it's 43 metres tall. And from there's a ropeway where you can go up to visit various gardens and an observation deck. Next is Mount Koia, also known as Koya-san. It's a mountain south of Kyoto with lots of temples. It's the start and the finish of the 88 temple pilgrimage that goes around Shikoku. It's really peaceful. You can go walking through all these tall trees. It really is a complete contrast, especially if you're staying in Osaka, which is very much the big city. It looks very mysterious with all these stone lanterns, graveyards and statues. At this temple, called Okuno-in, there's a lantern hall with over 10,000 lanterns that are kept perpetually lit, apparently for over 1,000 years. If you want to, you can stay overnight at a temple. It's called shukubo. You get served a meal of traditional shojin ryori, which is vegetarian food, just like the monks eat. And if you can get up early enough, you can go to their morning prayers. That's at 5 or 6 a.m. You can book some of them online, just like any other hotel. This one's on booking.com. At this one, if you're there at the right time, you can go to their monthly fire ritual. Next up is Kurashiki, which is a bit farther away. It's about an hour and a half from Osaka on the train. Kurashiki has a beautiful historic canal district with all these weeping willows and traditional boat trips. There's really distinctive looking historic buildings and interesting shops, and it's just a nice place to stroll around. Again, it's a complete change of pace from busy Kyoto and Osaka. Also in Kurashiki, there's Denim Street, which is the birthplace of Japanese jeans, the first place where they produced jeans in Japan. There's shops from local designers with jeans and denim clothing and all sorts of denim souvenirs and snacks. These blue steamed buns are denim man. Man is the name for a steamed bun. So like in the convenience store, you get Niku man, Anko man, and my favourite pizza man. So this is a denim man. The blue is apparently from all natural food colouring from gardenia flowers, so it doesn't contain as many E numbers as you might think. There's denim ice cream, which is blueberry and ramen soda flavour. Sounds delicious. Denim pudding, and somehow there's blue denim beer. It does sound kind of touristy, but also a unique place. Next is Hiroshima, which on the map looks quite far away from Kyoto and Osaka, but it's on the bullet train line, so it's only an hour and a half on the train and completely doable as a day trip. The most famous place is the Peace Park and Museum, which aren't exactly a fun place to visit, but I do think it's important to learn about these things. The museum is really well done. It really makes you think, and it is quite hard hitting, especially when you can see the famous A-bomb dome right there. The park is really lovely, and you can see all the colourful paper cranes from the story of the girl who believed she'd recover if she could fold 1,000 paper cranes. So now people send them from all around the world as a symbol of peace. I only spent a very short time there, but there's lots more to Hiroshima and it seems like a great city. There's a castle. It's also famous for okonomiyaki. The Hiroshima version is slightly different from the Osaka version. There's a place called Okonomimura with lots of restaurants all together. There's a few rivers running through the city, which I think makes it a really nice setting, and you can go on boat trips. One of them is to our next place, Miyajima, which is quite popular. I know from the comments a lot of you have been there, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've been in Japan. I went to Hiroshima in the morning and Miyajima in the afternoon, which was doable, although you could easily spend longer in either of those places. I really would recommend you go to Miyajima though, it's absolutely lovely. The most famous thing is this torii gate in the water, so it looks like it's floating, and when the tide goes out you can walk right up to it. And there's wild deer walking around. What more could you want? The torii gate is part of Itsukushima Shrine, which has wooden walkways that also look like they're floating on the water. There's also a ropeway, so you can go up a mountain for fantastic views and walking trails. Miyajima is an island. It's only half an hour from Hiroshima by train and then a short boat trip, or you can go all the way there by boat. You can stay overnight on the island in a ryokan, a traditional hotel. I was there until the sun just started to go down and it was such a beautiful sight over the water. I'll always remember it. I should mention they had been doing renovation work on Itsukushima Shrine, and for quite a long time the torii gate was completely covered by a construction tent. I feel really bad for anyone visiting during that time, although Miyajima is still worth going to anyway. I'm not sure when the renovation work's going to be complete. Probably by the time we can travel again it might all be done, but you might just want to check that before you go. Next is Himeji, which is half an hour from Osaka on the train. It's most famous for its castle. Himeji Castle is said to be one of the most beautiful castles in Japan, and it's one of just 12 original castles that have never been destroyed by earthquakes or fire, although it has been renovated, which is why it's still so perfect looking. Some castles in Japan have been turned into museums inside, and some have been kept more how they were, and Himeji Castle is the second type. So there's not all that much inside, but in a way it's more authentic looking because you can imagine what it's like in the dark rooms and all the narrow staircases. This actually isn't the only castle in Himeji. This less well-known one is at Taiyo Park, which is a park on the edge of the city with replicas of famous sites from around the world, including Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany, the pyramids, the Easter Island statues, and the terracotta warriors from China. Inside the castle, there's a trick art museum with optical illusions that you can pose with, a bit like the one I went to in Odaiba in Tokyo. It was a lot of fun. The park was built by a wealthy person who wanted to help others. There's actually an on-site nursing home, and the staff and residents run the park. The idea was the residents get to live in a beautiful place with all the wonders from around the world right on their doorstep. It's a nice idea, even if it is quite a bizarre place. So there you go, Himeji Castle isn't the only castle in Himeji. Next is Kinosaki Onsen. The tourism website calls it the most charming hot spring town you'll ever visit. That's a lot to live up to. The town's wonderfully preserved architecture and authentic hot spring ambience along every street and alleyway will have you falling in love at first sight. The website visitkinosaki.com also has crafts and activities like picking green tea, straw crafts, Zen meditation and calligraphy that all look quite easy to book in English. This is a bit further away than I'd usually recommend for a day trip, so it's probably more of an overnight trip. You can stay overnight in a ryokan, go to the hot spring, have a traditional meal and have a really relaxing night. If you want to go to a hot spring, there are lots of other onsen towns around Kansai, and many of them are closer to Osaka and Kyoto. Like this one, Nagahama Onsen on Lake Biwa, which is a large lake near Kyoto. There's also onsen in Nara if you're going there. Or for something different, there's this one, Kutsurogi no Sato Yuraku, which is in Osaka City. It's quite unusual to find an onsen in a city. Usually they're out in the countryside. But what's even more unusual about this one is you can take a hot spring bath full of yellow rubber ducks. It's very cute. They also have other various more normal baths as well. And finally, we've got Nara, which is a very well-known and popular day trip. It's best known for its temples and the deer park, where you can feed the deer and they bow to you. I know this is a lot of people's favourite place in all of Japan. I won't go into too many details because you hear about it quite a lot, but something different in Nara I found quite recently is this tiger temple. It's really unusual. Chogo Sonshiji has lots of tiger statues, and there's even a tunnel where you go into a big tiger mouth. It might not be the sort of thing you expect to see at a Japanese temple, but I think it's fantastic. I should mention this isn't really very close to the deer park and the area that most people visit. Nara is actually quite a large area, and it does involve several trains and buses and walking to get there, but I don't know, it might be worth it. And if you like unusual shrines, there's also this bunny shrine in Kyoto. It's called Higashi Tenno Okazaki Shrine with bunny statues and charms. Look how cute it is. And finally, I've got a couple of train passes for you that might save you money depending on your plans, especially if you're travelling longer distance. Also, looking at these passes and the places you can go with them can give you more ideas for things to do. There's the JR Kansai Wide Area Pass, which is about 10,000 yen for 5 days. And there's also the Kansai Through Pass for 2 or 3 days, and they don't have to be consecutive days. Details about both of these and links are all in my book. And there's also various one-day tourist passes for some of these destinations. You can find out about them on japanguide.com or on the local train companies' websites. So I hope that gives you some ideas for things to do in Japan. There's so much to do in the Kansai region beyond the famous places in Osaka and Kyoto. You could probably even spend a whole trip there. Let me know your favourites in the comments, and I'll be back not next week but the week after on Thursday. Bye bye!